Good evening, everyone. I call the meeting to order. Board of Selectmen, Town of Southampton, February 21st, 2017, be at 6 o'clock. The meeting is now starting. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Good job, guys. First, I'd like to take a moment and a little reflection. We lost one of our town residents over the week. His name was Charlie Gorel. I knew Charlie Gorel for a long time. Charlie was a volunteer fireman for this town for over 40 years and served the community without flinching to respond to help neighbors and friends all the time. I just think we should take a moment and recognize the amount of work he's done to the town and the fact that of his passing. That said, I now need to open up the dog hearing. Would the parties that have these concerns please come to the front rows? This is going to be basically a quadricial public hearing. Anything that comes out of this hearing could be in litigation. So I'm going to ask you to both stand, raise your right hands. Solemnly swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to read the complaint. And I'm sorry if I pronounce your names wrong, but the complainant is Elizabeth and George Pluff. And the address is 25 Gun Road. The disturbance, this dog is on our property multiple times each day. She occasionally barks if we approach her. She cuts through our yard to go into the field next to our house. We continually notice she is in the yard when we return home from after work, etc. We found her in our garage twice when the doors were left open. That's the report in its summary. Given the fact that, Elizabeth, you made the complaint, can you come up to the podium, please? Can you explain a little bit more in detail exactly what's
Sure.
going on?
So I actually wrote a brief statement, if I can just read this to try and keep us on track. Dave and Lisa Felty's dog, a German Shepherd named Lena, has been wandering around on our property for well over a year. To be clear, we do not consider the dog to be a vicious animal. Overall, she seems fairly harmless. Labeling her a nuisance seems a more appropriate title. This dog spends a significant amount of time coming over from their yard onto ours, as well as going into the field next to our house to run. Ironically, when I received the notice about this meeting, I was standing at my mailbox reading the letter, and Lena walked right out in front of me, proceeded to cross our lawn. I have several photos of the dog just from this month alone that show her on our property. Previously, we did not feel it was necessary to report the dog wandering because we thought we were on decent terms with our neighbors and there was no sense in creating a problem. But unfortunately, in recent months, Lisa and Dave, along with their friends and our other neighbors, Barbara and Mike Daigle, have made some very public and untrue statements about us regarding matters that we were completely unaware of, until the town officials had to fill us in. Excuse me, I'm talking. There was no communication, nobody ever came by our home, and we were completely blindsided. As a result of these recent issues, we now have...
You really are going...
No, I'm not. We now have serious concerns that if the dog gets sick or hurt or gets into something on our property, the Feltys are going to come after us and say that their problem is our fault and we will have another difficult situation on our hands. This is why we are asking for the town to please intervene and address the dog rules and regulations with the Feltys. And I don't think that it's off topic because we
David, please.
we are talking about the dog. We didn't know about any other problems that they had with us. So now we're concerned. We never thought the dog was a problem, but if we don't address it, we're gonna end up with another problem. So if we're trying to keep the lines of communication open and trying to avoid any future issues, we would like the dog to stay on their property. We're not home that often. When we get home from work, I see this dog all the time. So if the dog's there when we're not home and the dog's there when we are home, it's a problem. And I don't want them coming after us again and saying that all of these things that we have done are a problem when we have a problem that we should address before it gets out of hand, like the other issues did months ago. So we don't have a dog. We shouldn't have to put up with a dog in our yard, plain and simple.
Okay. Thank you.
I totally agree with Elizabeth's statement. I do. I had no idea that we were
First of
never
all,
on.
just for the record,
My name's Dave Felty, 27 Gun Road. I never in my life knew that we were not on speaking terms with our neighbors. My dog turns 3 in March. They've lived there since 2013. December 19th, they moved in. Never said a word. I've had a German Shepherd. I've had a Golden Retriever that passed away 3 years ago. And when Medrick Payette lived beside me, it was a routine trail. And he would go up, he would feed him 10 or 12 dog bones, God bless him. He was senile, and then she would make her rounds, he would make her rounds, whatever, to barbs, you know, and lay out in the yard. Typical, atypical dog, whatever. Elizabeth never said one word. George never said one word about the dog being a nuisance. I just assumed that it was okay. Barbara doesn't have a problem. She has a daycare right next to me. The dog plays outside with the kids. You know, unfortunately, yeah, she crosses the road. The Gearys know about her. I don't believe in leashing a dog. I think you leash a German Shepherd, Pit Bull, Rottweiler, you turn them into an animal that is uncontrollable. Lena is my service animal. She's a registered service dog, and I try, when she's not working, to leave her unattended so that she can have some freedom. I totally understand your side of the property, and I've made amends. I've started trying to put up boundaries where my property line is so that I can put up a deterrent fence, and I will contain the dog, but I am not going to chain the dog up. You can find me every day of your life you want to. I'm not going to do it. I will keep her under control, and I'll keep her leashed. I'll keep a deterrent fence on their side of the property, and I'll make sure that the animal, right now I've got her on a 50-foot, I've got her on a 100-foot tethered cable with a 25-foot chain. So I'd ask anybody in this room to do that to yourself, and you tell me how you would feel. I love my animal. I do. She's not caused one single problem to anybody in our neighborhood. She's never bitten anybody. She's, as she said, she's not, it is a nuisance. I get it. I totally get it. I'm fine with that, Elizabeth. I am. I really am. I really thought that we were on better speaking terms. And this issue with this well system had nothing to do with you personally. I came after the town over that. That was the town's issue, not yours. You moved into that place. It wasn't your fault. That was, we're off
you're
topic.
way off the
But
track here.
I'm trying to clear the air with my neighbors. I live 25 feet from these people.
This is not the place to clear the
All right,
air.
so here's the deal. I am in violation. I agree. My dog has traveled up there. I'm not going to deny that. I am and have made, in the process of putting up a boundary fence in between mine and their properties to deter the animal from being able to go up there if she is ever untethered. And by if, I mean her untethering herself. I'll make sure that I keep the animal on a leash like I'm supposed to do, and I'll chain her up to her 100-foot cord, and that'll be the end of it when she's not in service. Is that acceptable to the town?
We need to deliberate.
Okay, you deliberate.
Thank you.
I'm guessing by listening to Elizabeth that roaming around and also defecating on the property is the issue, and sounds like if you keep the dog on your side, both of those will go away. I'd be interested in, has that been done already? Have you been trying to do that?
My dog only defecates in Barbara Daigle's yard, and she will attest to that 100%. My dog will not crap in my yard, and she will only do it where her dog does it. She's done it for the 3 years that she's been alive. I have tried to train that dog. I have 2 acres of land, and I cannot get the dog to take a dump in the woods. Can't do it.
I've got 2 small ones and the same thing.
I'm telling you, I can't do it. I don't
That's
know
good
what
training on one side.
But I clean it up. I make sure that I attest to everything right.
But will this work for Elizabeth, I guess is the question.
Yep, we're just trying to avoid any problems.
Okay, so my suggestion would be we see how it goes, and if there's another issue, you come back.
Mr. LeBrie?
Yeah, no damage has been done yet, and they're just trying to avoid that, and if they can keep the dog in the yard.
I totally get it, German Shepherds, I do get it, I understand it completely, you know, she can, yeah, I'm sure she could get, you know, she could have a day, you know.
Sounds reasonable if both parties are happy.
Do I hear a motion to take this under advisement?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion? What I mean by advisement is it becomes part of the record, so both parties understand it becomes part of the record, but no official action is gonna be taken.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully, you guys can sort out the rest of it.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Do I hear a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thanks, both of you. It's always the best way.
I'll give them to get back on the train. Open time for the public. You're not here for open time for the public? Okay.
Margie Strikers, 39 Bloomer Road. I had some questions for Shannon, but I see she's not here tonight. So
May I answer a question for you first? You asked about plowing your street. What we determined was there was a telephone line that was too low for the truck to go under, and that's the reason the plowing pattern changed that time, was he just couldn't get under the line. It's my understanding, though, they're going back to what they used to do, which I don't know myself, I haven't been there,
okay.
but I think it's some telephone pole that they always used to go to.
Yeah, the lines were drooping for a while. but
Right, and they
they've
didn't
been
want to go
fixed.
under it with the truck, because
fixed with-
obviously.
They've been fixed for quite some time.
Right, so that's why.
Okay, good.
So they're gonna go
Good to
back
know.
to
Yeah,
plowing
they
it?
pulled the power lines back up, or the phone lines back up, so I guess it's all set.
Okay.
That's all it was, is the driver saw the wires and he didn't want to go knocking them down,
Great.
causing a bigger problem.
Okay.
Your road's plowed, but you have no phone.
I have, I'll be fine. Okay, where do I start? Don't come in and bring the paper. No, don't tell me I didn't bring the right paper. Well. Okay. My concerns are about the Council on Aging. Could someone explain to me how an interim director was appointed without any discussion or posting of the job?
I received your email, in fact, the board received it, I guess, today, with a list of questions for us. We're not prepared at such a short window to be able to answer your questions, but you've generated enough concerns that I'm gonna ask this board if they would like to have the Council on Aging come to this board meeting in a week or so we can openly discuss the issues that have been brought up.
Yeah, Can we,
So,
can we
my-
do it as soon as possible?
Our next meeting is March 7th?
March 7th, and then there's one on the 21st.
So let's aim for March 7th.
I think
But,
what they're trying to do is extend the time,
well,
so that who they picked will get her whole 14 weeks in.
well, I need the board to decide if this is the direction they want to go. Looking at all these questions, we need to have a Council on Aging explain to us what's going on.
I would also like to know why the person in there has not passed a Cory check.
Again,
Well, that's a major issue. That's a law.
I'm not saying it isn't.
Well,
But again, when you send an email in the morning and we have a meeting at night, we don't have the time to process all that. You know, you have to appreciate we're all volunteers here too. But by putting a meeting together for March 7th, it will give the Council on Aging time to address these questions and give us time to understand what's going on, to ask credible questions.
well, I think that if we know we're breaking a state law, which is anyone in that office must pass a Cory check, if we allow her to go back in tomorrow, you're openly breaking the law.
The director, I'm assuming is what who you're talking
The
about?
interim,
Okay, is hired by the Council on Aging
and,
Board.
and the laws say
And that,
they have to pass the Cory.
and you need to bring that to their attention. We are going to, but we have a process here we have to go through. We can't just arbitrarily and capriciously just simply say you can't hire somebody because you failed to do this, that, and the other thing.
Why
They're-
not?
Because they're a board in their own right.
No, you appoint them,
Right.
I understand that.
so
but-
you have oversight of them. If you can appoint them, I would think there would be some sort of procedure to unappoint them.
But we still have to have a meeting to hear their side.
I think what he's talking about is bring the board and the interim director here for our March 7th meeting, and obviously yourself and anybody else you want to bring so that we can discuss this in a public forum and come to the bottom of it.
All right? So you have all my list of concerns.
Everything you sent by email, if you have other concerns, please feel free to send them.
I just don't know how the board doesn't have the authority to enforce the law. I just don't understand that.
Well, first of all, we have to establish the fact that they're doing this intentionally, and it's not being...
Well, I'm not sure if it's intentional or they just don't know what they're doing.
Exactly, and
I
that's the
don't,
reason...
I didn't accuse them of doing that in my, I said I wasn't concerned that they're either incompetent or don't know, but they're not doing what they should be doing.
I need to give them the benefit of the doubt to come to a meeting to discuss things, just like you just saw at another meeting where they went off topic. People need to have a little time to put this together so that they understand what, even us, what the credible questions are. And I thank you for bringing it to our attention. I thank you for the email because it was very succinct and direct to us what the concerns are. And yes, the board just voted to ask Council on Aging to come in at the next meeting and have an open forum to discuss these issues.
We
And
didn't-
if
we
they
didn't
just
vote on
want to
it.
put it off and put it off,
What do you mean, put it off?
can
We're
can
gonna
you,
ask them to
can you
come in.
make them come to the next meeting?
I don't honestly know.
We appoint them, so if
Well, yes,
they
you
don't
can.
come in, then we can make a motion
To just
from that
accept?
point.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we invite them to come in, strongly encourage them to be here along with the interim director. And in the meantime, we'll have some time to check into the state law, how it's applied and all that, so we'll have all the facts.
I have,
Sometimes the process is a little slow,
but I have the laws.
okay, so if you can give that, like we talked about the bylaws at Thursday's meeting, I reread those and it's very clear that we appoint the board of directors. So that was helpful. And like Charlie says, this information is great, but we gotta have a little time to look into it and plan. So if you can give me offline the state law, the particular Mass General law, I can do some
It's,
research. Do you have it off the top of your head?
I put it right in the, I put it in the email, chapter 40, section 8B.
Oh, it's in your email? If it's in your email, that's fine.
Yes.
It's in the email.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I'll do a little research on it.
Here's a question. Jackie's not gonna be here for the next meeting. That means that Shannon can't take position because she's working for them.
Right.
That means the three of us have to be here for March 7th.
I'm here, I know that. I booked it.
I should be here.
Okay, I just want you to know that if either one of yous don't make it,
Yep.
there's not even a quorum.
Okay.
Well, I just, what was I gonna say?
Assuming I'm gonna be here too.
I've also called the Ethics Commission in Massachusetts, and they're sending me some paperwork to file a complaint about being on the board and getting a job from the town.
Maybe we
It
can
clearly
have
states in our bylaws that that is not to be done. That you not, board members are not allowed to influence contracts or,
I understand that. That's one of the reasons why I'm saying if Jackie's not here, and Shannon is.
But you knew that, they're your bylaws. Why did you do it?
I think you're missing the point.
He's talking about the meeting coming up.
No, I'm talking about how did you appoint her when it says clearly in our bylaws, she can't get a position in town. And yet you gave her a position in town.
We did not hire her.
Well, whoever did is accountable, you approved it.
Yeah, that they did it,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
All right, well, that said, we're still back to March 7th.
Okay.
So if you can put that on your calendar and come back,
Oh, it's on.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else, or anyone else for open time? You sure? Gotta have something. All right, reports to the selectmen. I attended a meeting with Mass Department of Transportation pertaining to the Glendale Road projects. That project presently is at the point about 75% design. The state is doing an archaeological review because of the old canal that crossed it behind Canal Bowling Lanes. I don't anticipate that's going to be much of an issue, given how much has been turned over there over the years. The other part to this is we are going to be putting together an article for town meeting so that we can take easements on these properties that abut Glendale Road. When the plan is eventually done, we will have a public forum to explain to the abutters what is happening. At this point, it's early, but I hope the people on Glendale Road between Pomeroy Meadow and College Highway take note that there's going to start being activity on that street relative to getting the paperwork in order to do reconstruction on that road. At this point in time, it appears that construction will start on Route 10 between Pomeroy Meadow Road and past the Easthampton Savings Bank and Cumbies this summer. Glendale Road, I'm not quite sure, but my suspicions are it's going to be the year after. I guess that's about it on that one. Any questions? Okay, the next one is driveway regulation updates.
You got the town administrator
Town
report?
administrator.
Oh, I'm sorry. Town administrator report.
I passed out the report. Because the agenda was so long last week, I didn't include a report, so this is combined since my last report. The Finance Committee has launched the budget process and began budget reviews on February 13th. There is a meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and every Monday for the indefinite future until the major departments have been reviewed by the Finance Committee. I'll be attending the regular meeting. I'll be attending the meeting tomorrow. Also, Town Council has been requested to prepare a non-criminal ticketing warrant article for the police department. That was the article that we took off, if you recall, at the last, for the January 24th meeting. Also, we have a request pending from Soltage, a private company that does solar applications on land, to meet with the board regarding their interest in putting a solar farm in town. So the board wants to tell me when. I'll arrange for a meeting. This is a Florida company that has local offices in the region.
March 7th?
Do they have a place in mind, or they're just?
They do.
Oh, okay.
They do.
March 7th work?
As long as it's not a whole lot more, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds
For
good.
March 7th.
Okay. Had a meeting with Northeast IT to discuss taking over our email system. We're not going to be able to make any fundamental changes until the new fiscal year. And I'm informed by Mr. Lawrence that we have a contract with the Utah company that lasts until the end of October. So we may not be able to make this change until that time. The recommendation that Northeast made in the conference we had, our informal IT person up till recently, our Lawrence agrees with this, and I've had a good experience as well, is that the town should switch to Office 365 enterprise version. It would mean that every user would pay $7.74 a month, roughly $82 a year per user. For that, you would get automatic updating of all Office programs, as well as 50 gigabytes of storage in the cloud.
Each user gets 50 gig?
Each user gets 50. If you recall, we had the system crash several weeks ago on a Thursday, and it wasn't restored until a Saturday. Reason was that a 32 gigabyte server was filled mostly with email. And since we have this obligation to save all of our emails, this problem is going to come back to us. So 32 gigabytes lasted for townwide about 2 years. As a result of that crisis, we have a 64 gig machine. It's going to last probably another 2 years. That's townwide. If each person has 50 in the cloud, I think that takes care of the problem for a period of years, depending upon how much email. For me, it might be, 10 days. So, this is a recommendation that seems to make sense. As I said, Art agrees. I have the personal version of Office 365. I've used it for more than a year. I've renewed it, in fact, recently. It works fine. It's a solution that seems to work very well. So,
How many users do we estimate we have?
we haven't counted them all. Vicki did an informal count, and I don't have that number at this point. But we're talking town hall. Police department would not be users. Fire department, not. We have some users at the highway department, and just in the building here. So,
Okay, so if I remember last time we talked about this, it's each computer is a user, not each person that uses a computer.
it doesn't matter how many people sit down at the chair. It's per computer.
Okay, so that'll be relatively inexpensive.
I don't think it's not a very large expense.
Yeah.
And it'll work. It'll work well.
Yeah, sounds like a good move.
We're going to start, incidentally, with the Council on the Aging. They've requested, and we can afford 3 accounts, because, they have not been part of the system that we have here.
Yep.
And they have 3 machines over there that are not working. So as soon as Northeast IT can get it done, they will have 3 accounts to start up with, and we've checked the budget. We can afford to cover that between now and the end of the year. The community compact programs, I did get a call from Pam Coker, who is the state's manager for the program. The town has had 3 community compact grants, 1 for the fire department operational study. That is completed and closed out. The town charter study, in the view of Pam Coker, is completed. Mr. Lynch thinks it's completed, and he sent me a message today wondering about finalizing the last payment. So it seems to me that the work that he did for the town is complete. Perhaps the board might want to bring him back for a more extensive discussion, or I guess I need some direction on that as to what you want to do. And the last of the studies is the classification and compensation. I checked with personnel, the Triple PB board, and I was told that they need 3 more sessions to review the job descriptions that have been submitted. And at that point, presumably they hand it back to the Board of Selectmen. I got a call from Don Jacobs today, author of the study. He wants to close things out as fast as possible as well. He did send the final version of the project, which I have in a big binder on my desk. Everyone, welcome to take a look at it. I just have the one copy. I did meet with the Easthampton mayor.
Oh,
on-
hold on.
Sorry.
Hold on there for a second. On the town charter study, we had a very brief overview of that. Does the board want to bring him back for an overview, or does the board just wish to vote to authorize final payment and close this, and we have his PowerPoint and all the rest of it anyways?
Yes.
Maybe a combination. I'd like to have him back. I have no problem with him getting paid because he did complete it. But it'd be
Right.
nice to have him come here and spend a little more time now that we had a look at it.
Well, how about March 7th again? We'll have Council on Aging, but that's the only one that we have right now. Bring him back for the summary
Okay.
and closure?
I had a message from him today, again, also.
Do I hear a motion to
He's
do this?
anxious to
I'll make
Get
the
paid.
motion.
get paid.
Can't
Second.
blame a
Do I
guy.
hear a second? There's a motion made and seconded to bring him back March 7th and
Mhm.
to close this.
Okay.
As for the other project on the classification comprehensive study, I would like personally to see that at our meeting on March 21st, I guess it is.
Okay.
And have a presentation then. At that point in time, we also invite the Personnel Board to be there and the Finance Board, so that when we do this for closure, Personnel Board's had time to digest all the material, and we can move forward with that study.
And we want a presentation from Don Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure PQB is going to be through the review, because I was at the meeting on Thursday, and I think went through like maybe 3 job descriptions. They were the major ones, so is this going to give them enough time?
Well, it's gonna give them a month,
Well, they said 3 meetings. How often do they meet?
They meet,
once a week.
oh, they're meeting once a week now?
At least I believe so. Maybe I'm wrong.
So if that's the case, I guess I'd ask, make sure that they have enough time, but if we can give them that date up front, maybe that would push them to get that done.
See if that date works for him. If it doesn't,
Right.
we'll adjust it.
See, the other side of this is if they don't review these job classifications and have them completed by April,
Yeah.
beginning of April, we have no time to put them in annual town meeting.
Right, okay. So maybe we just give them this date and let them know up front.
Yes, and invite Mr. Jacobson to give us a presentation.
Okay.
Maybe we can bundle this all together and keep that moving.
Okay. So
Uh,
327, you're saying?
yeah.
Okay. I did meet with the mayor of Easthampton on the shared conservation agent proposal, which is going to be moving forward through a grant to the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. We've discussed this before, but Conservation Commission accepted Matt Christie's resignation and also appointed him as an associate member of the Concom. Selectman Konecki and I met with the school officials to discuss part-time sharing of a custodian. And actually today, we got some information on the cost of that. And as we get into the budget process, the board is agreeable. We'll try and incorporate funds into the operating budget for next year for a shared custodian. Also, because of the fairly high level of concern, even unhappiness about the condition of the building, Charlie asked me today to search around for any funds we might have to get this going sooner, rather than wait till July 1.
Now, is that a service or is that a direct employee?
That's a direct employee of the school department that puts in 20 hours a week. This would be, the additional 20 hours would come off of our side of the budget. I took the individual through these buildings over the weekend and explained just generally. That person was very receptive to this, really is looking forward to doing this. We discussed a little bit about ground rules like shoveling the sidewalks, that kind of stuff, and equipment that they may need that we don't presently have, so I told them to put together a shopping list just so we have an idea of things we might be missing.
And this person is at 20 hours, so there's no benefit spike for us.
That's all on schools.
Right, it's just the 18K a year, I believe. Is that
Yep.
about right? And so we need about 7 or 8,000 maybe till the end of the year. Because it's less than a half a year,
Yeah,
so that's not bad.
and this person's willing to start ASAP.
So all we need is funding?
That's it. It's all just some money.
Yeah.
Jackie, handle that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he'll clean the railing too, not just shovel the stairs. Because last time it snowed, the railing was filled with.
The thought
snow.
was to take and have the highway department maintain the exterior of the building relative to snow removal and have this individual to step in if something is observed that needs to be done.
Great.
So we got the heavy lifting on the highway side, the light lifting on this side.
Okay, Charlie and I and Randall met with Representative Kokut to talk about the East Street Bridge project, mostly looking for any funding available through any source through the state government. So they're very supportive and cooperative, and I guess we'll be trying to help out there. We have a problem with one of our police vehicles. The chief came in last week and said that one of the cruisers has lost reverse, and the transmission is going to have to be made.
You know the old joke answer to that one, yeah.
The cost of repairing the transmission is in the range of $3,000. The car has 117,000 miles and is on deck to be the next cruiser that would be replaced.
So it's one of the old Crown Vics?
Yes.
Okay.
So we discussed prospect of doing a lease for a new Interceptor, as opposed to putting this kind of money into a car that is on its last legs. The chief came back with some estimates via email. Opened them up today, and I guess the next step would be to sit down with the accountant and see what we can do.
So are there companies willing to lease and
Yes.
put high mileage on them?
Yeah, they lease police cars.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Well, I'm sure they fix.
Yep.
You know, leases are all tied to mileage.
Yeah, exactly.
In general, I don't like leasing, but this is an ideal time to lease given relatively low interest rates.
Right, yeah.
So this is not a proposal yet, but obviously, if we go forward, we'd have to have agreement by the Board of Selectmen.
And they'd have to build it in their budget too, so.
They'd have to build in a lease payment
Yeah.
for 18, yes. Lastly, green communities. I spoke with Jim Barry, who's the regional coordinator for the program in the Springfield office. We have a meeting set for March the 6th at 10 a.m. to review where we are, and he thinks that we have already met 4 of the criteria. He wants to take a look at what we did on January the 24th, and I think we're there. So anyone who'd like to drop in on this, I put the date down there, March 6th, 10 a.m. So it's hoped that we can just wrap this up and become a green community, certified, and get into the pipeline for some needed funding
Needed
for
repairs.
energy conservation. That's what I have for now. I've listed the next 2 selectmen meetings, assuming that they're the 7th and the 21st, although you haven't decided that. That would be the normal, these would be the normal.
Do I hear a motion to schedule our meetings for March 7th and 21st?
But we also talked about the 27th, didn't we? Scheduling done, Jacobson on that one, and.
That was the 21st.
Was it
21st.
21st? Okay, sorry, I wrote it down wrong.
21st.
And we do have a 22nd meeting with the
Council on
roads,
Aging.
private roads.
22nd?
I think
Yes.
it's March 22nd
Yes.
that we're sending the
Yep.
letters out to plow
Oh,
in the
yes.
private roads.
Yes.
It's at Norris School.
Just, I don't know if we have to put that in there or make sure we have a meeting there.
Department heads meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and Finance Committee tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and then thereafter every Monday until the budget process is
And
complete.
that's 5:30 on Mondays?
Yes.
Okay.
And the auditors are about to appear on the 27th. You'll notice on the agenda, Charlie has asked me to include on the agenda going forward any, right towards the end there, any articles for town meeting, just so we know what we have so far. So as articles are brought forward, I'll add them to the list, so we won't have any that fall off the table.
We did this in the past. It works well because it lets everyone know what's sitting out there.
Now,
May 16th, I think?
Yes.
Don't quote me, but I think that's when it is.
May 16th.
I mean,
Now-
what-
It is, yeah, that's the date.
May 16th, yep.
I believe you.
Please.
now, under the articles for the annual town meeting, you have land taking, Brickyard Road Extension, Howland. That is not a land taking, that is a donation that.
Right.
So.
Okay.
I don't know if we're gonna list it as a take.
I'll just put the word donation down.
Yeah, that's all. People ask the question, why are we taking land out there?
Because he's giving it to us.
Just wanna make that clear.
It gives a more
There's
positive
a lot
spin,
of
too.
give-take here, okay?
Right.
That's okay, Jim. The other one that's missing on here is the Agricultural Commission would like an article relative to farming in town.
Agriculture Commission, an article on what?
Being, what do they call it?
Right to farm?
Right to farm,
Right to
Yes.
farm?
yes,
Yeah. The right to farm bylaw is what you sent us.
right.
There's some boilerplate for that, but do they have one that they want us?
I sent you the boilerplate, it's in the email.
Okay, I haven't gotten to that yet.
I know. You and me got buried with emails as soon as we walked through the door.
Okay, and I assume we're going to have some for the water department as well?
Water Department will be looking at, well, the Coleman Road is theirs. Also, there's the master plan.
Master plan. So those two out of the three that we took off,
Right, we might,
one's already being accounted for here.
well, we might put the third one on, we just don't know how negotiations are gonna go, so, you know what I would do, I'd put it on, I'd put all three on, and that way there, if something gets messed up, we just take one off, that's all. It's easy to pass over, but it's really difficult to try to invent it.
Okay.
Can we go back to the COA before we forget?
Yes, you wanna do that now?
I don't believe we made a actual motion to have the COA Board of Directors and interim director come here. Can you just verify that?
I don't have a motion.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we request that the COA Board of Directors and interim director meet with us on March 7th to discuss the issues that were brought forward by a resident.
Wait a second.
I'll second it. Were they copied on that email?
I don't know.
If not, maybe they should have the questions. so
We
they
could do
can-
that.
Absolutely.
That's fine.
Yeah, we had a discussion of that today. I'm going to have to get email addresses for the members of the board, because until today, at least, all messages to the COA were funneled through the director. So if you want me to communicate with them directly.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Bella and I were talking about that today, that we should probably have the email addresses of all the members of the board.
I asked the town clerk to give me a list of all the members, so she may have it just in an email.
Okay.
But it won't have their email addresses.
You want to take that vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. I guess we'll go into driveway regulations now, unless there's anything else, Bob?
That's,
Okay.
There's nothing new in that. The meeting, next meeting I think we're having is next Thursday, a week from. so-
Okay. And so, update town administrator's search committee?
I did an update of the bulleted list that you worked on last meeting, and the changes are, first item, committee consisting of 7, 4 members from the general public, 3 representatives of town department heads. I took the word major out. Remember, you were talking about, do we have major in there or not? With the option of more members if needed, members appointed by the Board of Selectmen. The other change, about halfway down, I took out some language having to do with the budget. Committee does not have their own direct budget. Select Board shall be the final approving authority of any expenditures. If you recall, that was a much bigger paragraph.
I have one question. It's a memory one, but on the first bullet, 3 representatives of town department heads or town departments?
In listening to the recording, the last words were town departments. In other words, you were talking about department heads, and then the last that I heard on that tape was representatives of town departments, which means it can be a department head or it can be
Right.
some
so
other.
But this says heads.
This says heads, so we'd have to take that word out.
No, I didn't take it out. Okay.
And, just read down to, so we only have, should we clarify what departments? I mean,
Well, that's up to us. We have to see who,
so we can, okay, so we can pick
Volunteer.
any 3, okay,
yeah.
got it.
Um, We do have one individual who applied, was discussed at a board meeting. No vote was ever taken, but apparently has been sworn in. So I would interpret that as not being a valid
Right.
appointment
Yeah,
at this
we
point.
did.
We have to select them.
Yeah.
Now, do we have a accurate list of who is interested in serving?
Yes.
So is that something we want to review tonight, since the agenda's light, and see if we can come up
Well, first, do we agree with this?
with that change? I'm okay with it.
Do I hear a motion to accept it as written?
I'll make the motion, so we'll have a conversation.
Second,
My thought is we accept this, and then we'll move on with the actual screening committee.
It's up to you.
yeah, we set a date, didn't we set a date last meeting of when we would accept, the applications for this? And what was that date?
March meeting,
March meeting?
the March meeting. We
So-
still have only 2 applications from,
So we have to wait till
Public.
March before we put anybody on the
Right.
board, okay.
So my
Committee.
thought was, we accept this tonight, and then we ask the town administrator to, at the end of this month, to basically send us a list, so we know who they are.
Okay.
So when we go into our March 7th meeting,
Yeah.
we can make decisions.
Is this advertised on the website?
This here?
Yeah.
No, because we just accepted it. Well, we vote.
Well,
Is it
okay, we had to
advertised?
do something because we got an application.
Oh, you mean the actual screen, yeah, that's
Correct.
gone out every which way I could think of.
Okay, all right,
That's been out there for a few months now.
all right.
So we're going to put it on the March 7th agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got a motion and a second to accept this as the scope for the screening committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a question. How are you going to decide which department head, which 3 How are you gonna base that? How are we gonna figure that one out?
Well, this aside, I think we're gonna have to have a debate amongst ourselves as to how we're gonna decide.
Once we see what we get for applicants.
Yeah. It's not gonna be department heads necessarily. It could be somebody from the fire department,
Yep.
a lieutenant or something, or from the police. So depending on who is interested in
It's a different
serving.
department, yeah.
It doesn't say head. We
You
took
took,
that
you
word
just
out,
took that off, yeah.
you know.
Right.
But still, so you're gonna, it could be an employee,
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a major,
Yeah.
okay,
Right.
Tried to open it up. We tried not to narrow it.
yeah,
But I mean, we may decide as a group that, oh, 3 department heads make sense.
right.
And that's
Yeah.
something we'll discuss, I would think.
So the 4 members of the public, they can't work here?
We never even decided that either.
But, I mean, is that what you're saying, general public?
Yeah.
So
I-
they're not, they can't be employees, they just,
Yeah. I mean, that's the
That's the.
definition I would put into it,
okay,
because otherwise you're overlapping.
they can't work here, okay.
Yeah.
They can't be on a committee, they have nothing to do with any of the town,
Right. Departments or
is that
anything.
what you're saying? Okay,
And then one last thing here is, we say 3 representative of town departments. We don't want all 3 from the same one. It doesn't,
Right.
so.
But we
3.
can sort that out as we do this.
Okay, right now it just says 3 representative of town departments, so. But we'll probably try to spread that out amongst different, you don't want them all from the same department. Okay, just,
So there's a vote, and the vote stopped at Jackie, and I let you debate it. So the question is, are you voting in favor of this being the scope?
yes,
So it's unanimous, motion carries. And this will be put on for March 7th for the appointment of the screening committee.
could you make it the 21st? Or is that too far?
I could, it doesn't bother me one way or
Because
the
I
other.
wanna be here.
21st,
21st is good with me.
do I hear a second?
I don't think you
You
need,
have to amend it and start over.
I'm here to harass you, you know.
and you do a good job.
Thank you. All right, the 22nd it is.
21st.
21st, I'm sorry. Got me to, got,
The caffeine is.
yeah, the caffeine's doing good, huh? That was good tea, I'll tell you.
Another cup.
No, I don't. All right. So we got that committee, 21st. And now, under new business, we are going to have the fire chief.
Can I back up half a second?
Sure.
As I thought of that, today's the 21st and March 21st, that's 4 weeks away before we even form the committee. We've got Bob for 12 weeks, unless we extend it. So are we pushing ourselves?
Well, my
Far out?
thought was to extend, Bob was gonna be
Yeah.
academic. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because the quickest we're gonna hire somebody, in my mind, is July 1st. Because the job description's still gonna be nailed down, and the money still has to be nailed down, and if the money's allocated, it doesn't take effect till July 1st.
I agree 100%. I'm just wondering if it was even worth, you're away for a week, Jackie?
Yeah,
So
I'll
I
be
wonder
back
if when she comes back, even we have a special meeting,
When you gonna be back?
the 11th.
so.
You
and
just like to have 2 selectmen's
I think it's
meetings.
important,
I
you
could
know.
say it's just- oh, it's all right.
The 11th.
March 11th, that's a Saturday.
Right,
The 14th is the town caucus.
Can't
Can't do it then.
Unless you want to have the selectmen's meeting prior to the town caucus, like at 5:30,
What time is the caucus, 6 or 7?
7 to 9.
7 to 9?
Yeah, you can come in a little earlier for that. I mean,
I, 7 to 9, 5:30 to 7? Yeah,
Are
so-
you going to be able to screen all these people in an hour?
That's an hour and a half. Want to do it at 5?
Yeah, that might,
Jackie, does that work?
5 o'clock on the 14th?
yes.
5 o'clock.
third change is a charm.
Five,
Good.
14.
And the topic is only the screening of the committee. Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right, we up, okay with this now?
Yes.
Fire chief. The fire chief came to me to explain that he wants to get rid of some of the surplus property we have.
There's two sleep, oh, gotcha.
Okay, so we put together a form with that. And basically what it says, Town of Southampton, written procurements for the disposal of tangible supplies valued at less than $10,000 under Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, Section 15F. 1, as a result of a cleanup of the fire station and grounds around the facility, the town has a number of, quote, junk materials the Board of Selectmen hereby declares as surplus with an estimated value, net value of less than $10,000, considerably less. 2, the Board of Selectmen wishes to make available these materials to the public at no charge. A, scrap old radio cab insert that was pulled off an old Army surplus truck. B, 20 non-compliant air bottles made of carbon fiber. These are what people call the Scott Air Packs. C, old damaged truck cap, removed from an Army surplus vehicle. D, old dishwasher that more than likely someone dumped illegally.
Oh.
If you want a dishwasher, Jackie.
Does it work, Chief?
this is
No
it,
idea.
You know? E, miscellaneous outdated fire extinguishers and various parts from retired trucks. By providing these items to the public on the terms and conditions outlined below, the town is not required to expend any town resources or funds to secure removal of these items from town property. 3, the items may be obtained on the following terms and conditions. A, the items will be available at the rear of the fire station on a first-come, first-served basis. B, interested parties must obtain permission to remove these items from the fire chief. C, only interested parties will be allowed access to the items under the control of the fire chief. The town reserves the right to refuse to allow any individual's access if in its sole discretion there are safety risks in doing so. D, recipients of the items take them as is with no warranty of any kind expressed or implied. I feel like I'm giving away. 4, the town shall post on its website these written procedures together with public notices of the availability of the items and any other details the selectmen deem relevant. 5, the town reserves the right to revoke this notice at any time and no contract expressed or implied is created by virtue of this notice. 6, any access to or acquisition of items not in compliance with these procedures may constitute trespass or theft or other violations of law and result in legal actions accordingly. 7, the town shall maintain copies of these written procedures, any public notices, all waivers required under these procedures, and any and other associate documentation to the extent required by law. 8, probably the most important sentence of the whole thing, if after 60 days from this vote, the items are not removed, the fire chief is instructed to dispose of them as waste material. I need a motion by the Board of Selectmen.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion?
Yeah, so, just for everybody knows, this is all free to the town, or are people gonna bid on them, or?
No, free to the town. I mean,
Free to the town.
yeah, the things that we're referring to
Great.
are really, yeah.
First guy that calls the fire chief up and says he wants this,
Christmas present.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I don't, yeah, any
fire
of
chief's phone number is,
yeah,
No, no,
yeah, I give
the
my
the
cell phone.
dishwasher, damaged truck cap and all that, we can recycle that at the transfer station, and we get money for metal.
yeah, the point is it's surplus. We give an opportunity for the general public, residents of the town to take it. If nobody takes it, then the fire chief's gonna have to find a way of bringing it down to the transfer station and have a talk with the supervisor of the transfer station that they'll accept it. Some of the stuff is too large for the transfer station.
So one question, you just mentioned residents of the town. This says public I believe. I don't see
It doesn't
resi-
say residents, I said residents.
Right, so is it residents only, or somebody can come from Easthampton?
Personally, as long as they clean it up for us, I'm looking at it as, you know,
Okay, just want to clarify.
Well, give first choice to the residents, I would
Well,
imagine.
we
and
can't
then-
do that. It's going to be first come, first serve.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose.
Yeah, none of it
Can't
has
do
a lot
both
of
of those.
value, so whatever
Yeah,
makes
right.
sense.
You just want to clean it up and get rid of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
the idea now is to clean up the back of the fire station.
Yep.
That's all.
As long as they have to go through the chief, I'm okay with it.
Right.
Yep.
It's all
Yep.
kind of junk anyways.
Yeah, that's right.
And it actually says that.
So there's no liability to us
Nope,
if there's a bad,
this has been vetted by town council. That's-
Okay,
that's the
so we're good.
procedure. Yeah.
yay,
Your
clean.
motion?
The motion was made and seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, you guys are
Easy
ahead of
enough.
me. Chief, want to hang on for a signature, or
Sure,
do you want to put this on stationery, or what do you want to do with this one?
whatever you'd like.
You need it on you want it on stationery?
I don't think it matters, as long as we have it all signed. I mean,
We're just memorializing it in our minutes, right?
Right. Just sign that one, we'll just circulate it and make a photocopy of it, bounce it
Yeah.
back to him. and-
It's on one page on that, if you want to go with that.
Right, but it's on your stationery, right?
No, it's just mine.
Well, whatever.
One of the more exciting parts of your job.
Yeah, you know if there's gonna be discussion or not.
Well, you know,
Be nice to clean up back there,
Yeah,
that's the goal,
be a little storage.
yeah. There'll
we
be,
now have a template for surplus property at this
yeah,
point.
because my guess is there'll be more once we start to go through stuff.
Some of it should be surplus property that we can't afford to replace.
There you go, chief.
All
Make
right.
a copy and send it back to Bob tomorrow, please. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You too.
Okay. Town Administrator, FY18 revenue projections?
Okay. Before we get to that, I just want to point out that I did distribute the budget that was sent over by the Hampshire Regional School District.
Yes, I saw that.
I have not had a chance to review, actually, this is going to be reviewed by the superintendent soon, so I'm going to wait till I hear his presentation. So this is just something to look over, but we have been working on the revenue picture in preparation for the budget process. I just draw your attention to a couple of items on the revenue picture here for fiscal 18. New growth are projecting roughly the same, up $3,000 in discussions that we've had with the building commissioner and so forth. There's still a fair amount of activity, and so I think that's a reasonable number to meet in the coming year. And dropping down to state aid, the governor has provided 2% more in Chapter 70 funding and 3.9% more in unrestricted general government aid. That's the big category that we use to underwrite a whole variety of costs. 3.9 is good news. Offsetting that is the 2%. I mean, obviously, we have one pot of money, and out of that pot, we take funding for the schools as well as funding for general government. And so 2% is not as attractive as we would like. Point out that this is merely taken from the governor's budget recommendation. The legislature hasn't acted on this yet. The pattern of the legislature is that they do increase the governor's recommendation slightly. So we may see some numbers here that are a little bit improved over what you see here. The motor vehicle excise tax, again, I estimated that at 870,000. We've been over 900,000. We were 928 last year. So again, that's a conservative estimate for revenue. Cars are still selling, although I think the market has slowed a little bit. So I think that's a reasonable number. Flipping over to the back, I think there are a couple of important things to mention here to the public, and that is that the town has, several years ago, I guess, taken free cash out of the operating budget. That's the height of fiscal responsibility. Many towns take free cash and they use it to operate, and that's where they get into trouble. Having no free cash in the operating budget means this budget is based on recurring revenues and predictable revenues, not on the ups and downs of free cash. And so this means that it is very unlikely that there will be a financial crisis in the coming year or in future years, because this free cash number that can vary in some instances by hundreds of thousands of dollars doesn't count for operations. It is used for, as we did on January 24th, for one-time purchases and to augment OPEB and stabilization. Also, no money from the operating stabilization account and no money from the capital stabilization account goes into the operating budget. And so I think the Department of Revenue would declare that these are very sound fiscal practices, none of my doing. It was done here before I came. So I recognize it because I've seen so many instances of communities that get themselves into trouble because they put one-time monies into their operating budget. And when those one-time monies decline or go away, they're in trouble.
We did that for so many years, it wasn't good, and finally we got it straightened out, which I think is great.
So this is what it looks like. Obviously, some important numbers in terms of the budget side are not available yet. Among those numbers are a number from the Norris School as well as the regional school. They usually take the largest share of the budget. Also, we need retirement assessment and insurance costs and so forth, because these are the big ticket costs that come off the top of any pile of revenue for town operations. I think given what it looks like now, I think it is likely that we can accommodate the selectmen's goals of a second shift for the ALS ambulance, as well as a couple of other smaller goals that you've established.
Great.
That's it?
Highway Department budget, given the storms and everything, I know you don't have the numbers right this second,
No, I don't.
but,
You mean, where are they with
Yeah.
snow and ice?
yeah, so when you get a chance, when we get into March, the next meeting, it'd be good to get an update, see where we're at.
We should be getting these monthly, though, the expense
I
reports.
know, but if you notice, we haven't been seeing them, and I know the auditors are coming in next week, so I think everybody's attention's gonna be distracted.
No, I was surprised. Do you normally get printouts, monthly printouts?
Not printouts, the electronic files.
Yeah,
We should still be getting those, because we talked about the revenue and the expense, and the expense is tied into the accountant, where the revenue is tied into the treasurer. And I thought our instruction, if you will, is to have at least the expense reports every month.
Right.
So would you
We
mind
I will
following?
talk with the accountant and make sure that that is resumed.
Because without that, we're kind of operating in the dark.
Yeah, right, yep.
Thanks.
You get used to them, seeing those.
Yeah.
No, I think that it's very important to do that and
Yeah.
important to look at it. Otherwise, you could find out in April that, oh, we're out of money and we're
Right.
facing big problems.
Right. Thanks.
okay, any other new business? Hearing none. Personnel change forms? None.
None?
Licenses, permits?
None.
Is there something going on with a new restaurant we have in town?
Yeah.
Is that being followed up?
Yes, it is.
That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, other documents requiring signatures. Well, because of snow days and all the rest of that, I've been putting these together, and here we go. January 26, 2017, PD 17-30 AV for the amount of $17,289.98. January 26, 17, PD 17-30A, $149,112.01. January 26, 2017, PD 1730C, $17,278.58. February 2nd, 17, W 17-31, $1,361,406.41. February 2nd, 2017, W 17-31A, $6,360. February 9th, 2017, P 17-32, $266,851.02. February 9th, 2017, PD 17-32, $45,272.15. February 16th, 2017, W 17-33, $136,777.64. All these documents were signed by me for payments of bills and payroll. And this is what happens when we miss a couple of meetings. Minutes for approval.
I'm trying to get caught up on the minutes. I think we're almost there. And
You want me to read the dates, Jim?
Sure.
December 6th, 2016, regular meeting. December 20th, 2016, regular meeting. January 10th, 2017, regular meeting. Do I hear a
No,
motion?
before you go, you got one on the page in front of that.
November 29th.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
you missed
sorry,
the
November
29th.
29th, 2016, regular meeting.
Yep, we got those here, those are good.
I'll make the motion, we accept them as written.
Second,
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 So moved. All right, calendars and announcements. Selectmen's meeting now is March 7th, 21st, and what was the other date?
14th.
The 14th for the screening committee for the town
And the
administrator.
22nd.
And the 22nd.
And the 22nd for the plowing of private road meeting, that's gonna be at the Norris School. Finance Committee's meeting is February 22nd, February 27th. And I'm gonna read the articles that are getting put together for annual town meeting. Glendale Road Project, which is the road, easements and that, certification MGL for town employees, which I'm not sure what that is. You know what that is, Bob?
No,
Oh, please.
this was on the list.
All right, well, we gotta loop back because I'm not sure what that one is.
Doesn't seem to make sense.
It doesn't. Non-criminal ticketing, police department, land donation, Brickyard Road extension, land taking, Coleman Road, and there will be one on agriculture, and we're going to see a few more for the water department, and this is gonna keep building out. If there is no other business in front of this board,
Just, I'm taking some time off next week, so
you are taking time off next week.
I am, yes.
You had Monday off.
It's an annual thing that I do, so. But I will not
It's
be
temps.
neglecting email and
You deserve it, Bob.
important
Okay.
messages.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Nah.
You like it here?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? Do you think this is a good thing?
I don't know, should.
Considering March's schedule, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're done. Thank you, everyone.